Imagine being just 13 years old and sitting in jail for a murder you didn't commit. But the worst part? The person who blamed you was your own sister. This is the heartbreaking and shocking story of Tyler Edmonds, the boy who was framed by family. True crime is full of shocking twists, but this one is different. It's not just about murder. It's about betrayal, lies, and how a young boy's life was nearly destroyed. Tyler Edmonds was only 13 when he was arrested for murder. He had no idea what was happening, only that his big sister said he did something terrible. But was she telling the truth, or was she hiding something much darker? Now let's take a look at the lives of Tyler and Christy before the murder. Tyler Edmonds was just 13 years old. He was a small, skinny boy who loved riding bikes and playing games. He wasn't a bad kid. In fact, he was the kind of boy who still looked up to his big sister. Her name was Christy Fulgham. Tyler thought Christy was cool. She was older than him by several years. Sometimes she acted like a mother, sometimes like a friend. Tyler didn't see her often, but when she called or asked to hang out, he got excited. He felt special, like she picked him out of everyone. But things weren't always happy in Tyler's life. His parents were split up, and his home life was confusing. He bounced between houses and didn't always feel like he belonged. Christy, even with her problems, gave him a place to go, a place where he felt wanted, at least for a little while. But what Tyler didn't know was that Christy had a dark side. She was 26 years old, married, and had kids of her own, but she was unhappy. Her marriage was falling apart. She was having an affair with another man and wanted to get away from her husband. Christy wasn't like other sisters. She liked to be in control. She could be sweet one minute and cold the next. She had secrets, she told lies, and sometimes she used people to get what she wanted, even her own little brother. When Christy called Tyler and asked him to come visit her one weekend, he said yes without thinking. He packed a small bag and went to her house in Mississippi. He felt proud to be with his big sister. He thought she just wanted to spend time with him. But behind the smiles and hugs, Christy had other plans that would change Tyler's life forever. Christy was angry at her husband, Joey Fulgham. She wanted him gone. And in her mind, she had made a choice, a very dark and evil one. But she couldn't do it alone, so she looked at her little brother. Young, naive, easy to control. And so, step by step, she started pulling him into her web. She made Tyler feel important. She gave him attention. She said things like, "You're smart, you're strong, you can help me." And because Tyler wanted to make her happy, because he loved her, he listened. He didn't understand everything, but he trusted her. Tyler didn't know this was the beginning of a nightmare. He was only a kid. He thought he was spending time with family. But Christy was using him like a pawn in her game, a game that involved lies, betrayal, and murder. Looking back, many people said Tyler was just a baby. He didn't know right from wrong the way adults do. He couldn't tell when someone was tricking him, especially someone he loved. But Christy wasn't thinking about protecting her brother. She was thinking about herself. And as the days passed, she began planning something terrible, something that would shake their family forever. This was the calm before the storm. Tyler had no idea what was coming. He had no idea that in just a few days, he'd be sitting in a police car, accused of murder, and that the person pointing the finger at him would be his own sister. What exactly happened on the night of the crime? Well, it wasn't supposed to be like this. When 13-year-old Tyler Edmonds went to stay with his big sister Christy Fulgham, he thought he was going to spend time with someone he loved. He looked up to Christy. She made him feel seen, important, like he finally mattered to someone. But that weekend would destroy everything. On May 11th, 2003, Christy's husband, Joey Fulgham, was found dead, shot in the head while he slept. It was a cold, calculated killing. But here's what most people didn't know. Tyler wasn't even there when Joey was murdered. It was Christy who pulled the trigger, Christy who planned it,
Christy who took Joey's life. Tyler only found out later, after it had already happened. At first, Christy didn't say much. She acted calm, normal even. Tyler knew something wasn't right, but he didn't ask questions. How could he? She was the adult, his big sister, the one he trusted. Then, days after the murder, Christy told him everything. She said she had killed Joey. She said she was going to be convicted, sent to death row, and then she said something that would haunt Tyler for the rest of his life. If you don't take the blame, I'll never see you again. Tyler was just a child. He didn't understand the law. He didn't know what it meant to confess to murder. All he knew was that the one person who made him feel loved was about to disappear unless he did what she asked. So he agreed to protect his sister, to keep her out of trouble, to keep their bond alive, even if it meant destroying his own life. When they went to the police station, Tyler was scared but obedient. He didn't have a lawyer. He wasn't with his mom. Christy and the police sat him down and asked him questions, and slowly, piece by piece, he gave them what they wanted. He said he had helped Christy. He said he was there. He said they did it together. But it was all a lie shaped by love, fear, and manipulation, told by a boy who thought he was saving his sister. Christy, meanwhile, backed the story. She told investigators that Tyler had confessed to her, that he'd been the one to kill Joey, that she was innocent. She gave them her version of the truth. And just like that, Tyler Edmonds was arrested for murder. He didn't cry, he didn't run. He thought maybe this was what being a good brother meant. But in that moment, Christy wasn't acting like a sister. She was saving herself by sacrificing the only person who still believed in her. It was not the night of the murder that took everything from Tyler. It was the moment he agreed to lie, the moment he gave his life away to protect someone who would never protect him back. The police investigation and arrest. After Joey Fulgham was found murdered, the police started asking questions. At first, nobody knew what had happened. Joey had been shot while he was sleeping. No signs of forced entry, nothing clearly stolen. But it wasn't long before his wife, Christy, came forward with a story and a name. She told the police it was her little brother, Tyler Edmonds, just 13 years old. She said he had confessed to killing Joey, that he did it with her or for her, that he was the one who pulled the trigger. She looked serious, scared, believable. But what she didn't say was the most important part. Tyler hadn't been there, and she had forced him to take the blame. After Joey was killed, Christy didn't just sit quietly. She manipulated Tyler. She told him she had done it, and that if she got caught, she'd go to prison, or worse. She told him, "If you don't take the blame, I'll never see you again. You're just a kid. All they'll do is slap you on the wrist." And Tyler believed her. He loved his sister. She was the only one who ever made him feel like he mattered. If taking the blame would protect her, and if all he'd get was a slap on the wrist, then maybe it wasn't so bad. Maybe he could save her and still be okay. So when Christy brought him to the sheriff's office, Tyler didn't resist. He didn't ask for a lawyer. He didn't even ask for his mom. He sat there, scared and quiet, while the police questioned him alone. And with Christy nearby, telling him to tell the truth, he finally broke. He said the words they wanted to hear. "Me and Christy did it." But even in his confession, there were holes. He didn't describe the scene right. He mentioned details that didn't exist. Because he wasn't there, and deep down, he probably didn't understand what he was confessing to. But the police didn't stop to wonder. They had a confession. That was enough. They arrested Tyler on the spot, a boy, still a child, treated like a cold-blooded killer. He didn't cry, he didn't run, he just went quiet, like a light had gone out inside him. Because it wasn't just the police who betrayed him. It was Christy, the sister he would have done anything for, even take the fall for murder, had given him away to save herself. Tyler was 13 years old, but now he was just another number in the system. And no one stopped to ask why a kid would confess to something so serious, so fast, so willingly. No one protected him. Tyler's trial and wrongful conviction. Tyler Edmonds sat in court with his feet barely touching the floor. He was 13 years old, small for his age, wearing clothes too big and fear too heavy. But the courtroom didn't see a child. They saw what the prosecutors told them to see: a murderer. Tyler's trial moved fast, too fast. The people who were supposed to protect him, they failed. He had confessed, that's what they said. So they didn't ask why a child would say he helped kill a man. They didn't stop to wonder if he had been scared, tricked, or used. The confession was enough for them. The prosecution told the jury that Tyler had held the gun with Christy, that they both pulled the trigger, even though Tyler had no history of violence, no motive, no physical evidence on him, nothing that tied him to the crime except his own confused words. Then came the so-called expert. A doctor told the court that the bullet's path could only have happened if two people pulled the trigger at once. But later, this would be proven completely false. At the time, though, the jury believed it. Why wouldn't they? A grown-up said it, a doctor. And Tyler was just a kid sitting there, quiet and scared. He didn't speak for himself. He didn't testify. He wasn't ready. The courtroom treated him like an adult, but he was just a boy who still watched cartoons, still rode bikes. He didn't understand what was happening. All he knew was that he was losing everything, fast. And then came the verdict. Guilty. Tyler was sentenced to life in prison. Just like that. A child sent away forever. Not because he was evil, not because there was proof, but because he had loved his sister and trusted her more than he should have. As the doors closed behind him, Tyler wasn't angry. He was heartbroken. He had given up his childhood to protect Christy, and now she was free while he sat alone in a prison cell. No one held her accountable. No one questioned her story. Tyler Edmonds had been wrongfully convicted, and nobody came to save him. Tyler's life in prison and the fight for freedom. When the prison doors slammed shut behind him, Tyler Edmonds was just 14 years old. One minute, he was a boy who still liked video games and cartoons. The next, he was in a cell, wearing an oversized orange jumpsuit, surrounded by grown men with hard faces and broken pasts. Tyler tried not to cry. He tried to stay strong, but nothing could prepare him for what life inside would be like. He was the youngest inmate in the Mississippi prison system. In that place, time stopped. His friends back home were going to dances, learning to drive, laughing at school jokes. But Tyler, he was learning how to survive, how to stay quiet, how to disappear, how not to be noticed, because being noticed could mean danger. He spent years in a cold, lonely world that was never meant for a child. But outside those prison walls, something was finally starting to change. Tyler's mom never gave up. She wrote letters, she talked to reporters, she begged for someone to listen, someone to see that her son didn't belong behind bars. Then, finally, someone did. In 2006, the Mississippi Supreme Court looked again at Tyler's case. They saw what no one saw the first time: a confession made under pressure, a child questioned without a parent, and a medical expert who was completely wrong. That so-called proof of two people firing the gun, it had no real science behind it. It was just an opinion, and a bad one. Without it, the case began to fall apart. And for the first time in years, hope came back into Tyler's life. After 6 years in prison, his conviction was overturned. He was granted a new trial, and this time, he was ready. This time, Tyler testified. He told the truth, the real story. How Christy had lied, how she pressured him, how she tricked him into giving up his freedom by promising him it would be okay. And the jury listened. They believed him. In 2008, Tyler Edmonds was found not guilty. He walked out of that courtroom a free man, but not the same boy who went in. He was older, quieter, wiser, but still deeply wounded. Because even though he was free, he had lost something he could never get back: his childhood. Lastly, let's take a look at Tyler's life after prison and Christie's eventual fate. When Tyler Edmonds walked out of prison, the world had changed, and so had he. He was 20 years old, but he had missed everything that makes a person grow. He didn't go to high school dances, he didn't go to prom, he never had a first date or a chance to just be a kid. Now he was free, but the damage had been done. People expected him to move on, but how do you move on from a nightmare that stole your youth? Tyler struggled. He had to learn everything from scratch: how to drive, how to build friendships, how to find peace after 6 years of fear. Sometimes he'd wake up thinking he was still behind bars. Sometimes he just wanted to forget. But he didn't stop. He kept moving. He went to college. He found purpose. And in time, he became a voice for others who were wrongly convicted, speaking out about what had happened to him, so no other kid would ever be thrown away like he was. But what about Christy Fulgham? The sister who lied? The one who used her little brother as a shield to save herself? She was later tried and convicted of capital murder in Joey's death, the very crime she had once pinned on Tyler. Prosecutors said she had planned the murder for money, and the court agreed. Christy was sentenced to death. The same sister who once told Tyler, "You're just a kid, they'll only slap you on the wrist," would now face the harshest punishment the state could give. But for Tyler, there was no justice in that. Not really. Because no matter what happened to Christy, he still had to carry the scars she left behind: the betrayal, the years lost, and the pain of loving someone who never loved him the same. Today, Tyler lives as a free man, but his story is a reminder. Sometimes, the worst kind of evil doesn't come from strangers. It comes from those who are supposed to protect us.